Good afternoon. This is going to be a brief talk on intuition and gut instinct. Now, we must come into awareness that we are being instinctively guided, and our gut instinct is this guide for our soul. Now, to ignore this gut instinct will always have a karmic price. When your gut instinct is telling you something and you ignore it in favor of your egotistical choice, it will never fail but to give you the result of that choice you have made. So, you may notice that your first instinct on anything is always correct. It is always the right thing. Your instinct will come in first and foremost. If you stop and waver and give a situation or a person or people the benefit of the doubt, you will find out that your gut instinct was right. For me, this was a hefty price to pay by ignoring my gut instinct. Always because of the generosity of my own soul and heart and knowing how I would act in any situation. Many times in my life, I gave people the benefit of the doubt. If I doubted something and I still went along with whatever they had suggested or offered, whatever that may be, whatever situation that was, every single time they let me down. Every single time they shot on me. Bar none. And the responsibility with that is, you see, we have no one to blame but ourselves. If your own internal guide or your guides from the spirit world is influencing you in this way, and you ignore that influence, that is the result you will get. Now, I am going to tell you a cautionary tale of what happened to me and the huge price I paid. But it was a mighty lesson. Back in 1993, I was home visiting in Ireland. I was living in London at the time, but I was home visiting my family. And in a bar come club situation one night, I met this young man, and he spoke to me, and he was sure that he knew he was going to meet me. And I thought, yeah, sure. He said, no, I know I was going to meet you. A clairvoyant told me, described you, and I wasn't really paying a lot of attention. I kind of laughed it off. And he said what a benefit I would be to his life, that my words and what information I would reveal to him would be of great assistance to him. This at the time didn't really mean anything to me. Although, of course, excuse me, I had been trained in a lot of complementary therapies at that time. So, on the strength of what he told me, he insisted, after meeting him a few times, um, he well, he didn't insist, but he suggested that maybe I should see this clairvoyant person. So my curiosity got the better of me, and I decided, yes, let's go along and see this person. Um, so I made an appointment, and I had an extraordinary connection and revelation, whatever he was able to reveal to me, because my soul was open and receptive. So he gave me lots of information about my situation, about my family, about relationships, about lots of things in the past, about things he couldn't possibly know anything about. Now, amongst these things were my health. You could not tell to look at me in the physical sense that I had physical health problems, although I had been struggling with rheumatism and arthritis for a long period of time still at this point, since about 1982. But because I was not physically deformed, my joints, it was not noticeable to look at me. So one of the things he did tell me was, you suffer from arthritis. He said, take herbal remedies. He said, take dandelion and burdock juice, drink this. He told me to meditate at the hour of midnight in the month of March, or my health would deteriorate rapidly. He also told me, well, he said to me, what is this course that you are embarking upon? He said, where I see a diploma at the end of it. He said it starts in October and it ends in April. Now that was very interesting, because at this precise time in 1993, when I went to see this man, it was in August 1993, and he at that time I couldn't make up my mind between which course to go on. There was two hypnotherapy and psychology courses that I was drawn to go on, but I didn't know which one to choose. One of them started in October and ended in April. So clearly that was the one for me to go on, and it was a tremendous course as it turned out. Now, the other thing that I did not pay attention to, because it had not yet happened, was my health. Now, in 1993, my priorities were not very good regarding my own physical and emotional well-being. Pennies were always scarce. I chose a life where money was not going to influence, but I guess I didn't need to have always been in poverty either. But it was a choice I made, and there was many lessons learned making this choice. But I chose to put fun and entertainment, if you like, in my escapism from my soul pain. I chose to put alcohol as a priority for my money over food and herbal remedies. So, of course, I totally and utterly ignored the advice. My soul had been directed to this guy who presented me to a clairvoyant to give me information information for my soul which would have benefited it, and I ignored it. So I did not take my herbal remedies. They were too expensive for me, or so I thought. I did not meditate in the month of March at the hour of midnight. In fact, at that age, I couldn't sit in a chair for 5 minutes, let alone meditate. So I put meditation off for 10 full years. You see, we're a victim of our own thinking so often. I had this boundless energy. I had so much energy, but I did not know how to direct it. I was able to help others mightily, but for myself, I absolutely and utterly was my own worst enemy. So, bearing in mind now that I didn't take my herbal remedies, I was putting plenty of acid into my body via alcohol. I was not putting healthy food in to my system. And I was not meditating. Now, my exams for my hypnotherapy course occurred in April. Now, I sailed through this course and these exams effortlessly while others struggled. But within 2 weeks of qualifying as a hypnotherapist and psychologist, I was absolutely and utterly physically crippled. April 1994, every major joint in my body seized up. I was absolutely and utterly raked with pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That every piece of my energy had to go back to simply dealing with this pain. Now that was an incredibly dark night of the soul for me. Being helpless, being crippled, and getting to see quite how uncaring our world and people can be. I seen ahead of me wheelchairs, people patting me on the head and talking over me, maybe pushing me from A to B, who knows, and that was not an option. I would not and could not accept that as an option. My option was I would leave no stone unturned until I found the answers. Or the alternative was I would take my own life. Now, I voiced this to the universe one night when I couldn't take any more pain. Also, bearing in mind, I was living in a house and underneath me was your worst nightmare as far as neighbours are concerned. Neighbours from hell. These people were totally tortured souls, and my goodness, did they like to find someone who was a victim. And at that time, I was totally a victim because I was emotionally a wreck. My nervous system was in tatters, and I was physically unable to do anything pretty much. To make any movement, to turn in a bed, to do anything was excruciating. And the moment I would get into another position, the pain would relentlessly start again. There was no ceasing in this pain. Now that was my universal lesson because I did not pay attention. I was being guided to what to do, and I ignored this universal guidance. And I paid a huge price. Now, when I could not take any more physical pain, I could not take any more emotional pain, and I had voiced that I believed in reincarnation, but because I could not take any more pain, that I would have to take myself back over to the other side and come back and do it again, basically, because that's the state I was in. I couldn't take any more pain. And that was a time again of miraculous intervention. The moment I voiced that to the universe, miraculous things started to happen for me. Books lit up off shelves and came in flame towards me what I needed to assist me. A letter came through the door almost within days, offering me freely 12 acupuncture sessions, which were then followed by 12 more. So I had 24 free acupuncture sessions. There was lots of things happened then because I got divine intervention, because I'd said, I cannot take any more. Help me or I am going home. Knowing that there is no place to reside over there. If you have unfinished business here and you choose to opt out, you will have to come back to finish it. You know, there is no getting away from that. So anyone out there who feels suicidal or depressed, ask and you shall receive. Because really is no escaping. What you do not learn this lifetime in lessons, you will come back to learn. Now, the beautiful thing about this lifetime is we are actually in the golden age now, since December 21st, 2012. So we can make rapid strides in our evolution and awakening and healing and restoring our body and mind. Now, from 1994 until now, 94, wow, 2014, here we are. In April this year, it will be 20 years since I was physically broken down with arthritis. 20 years later, I am still in the process of restoring my body. So you see, life is a journey. Pain will teach us many, many, many lessons. Struggle will teach us many, many, many lessons. You know, there's no need to learn the lessons the way I learned them, the very, very, very hard way. Don't be your own worst enemy. This is for the sensitive souls especially. Do not be your own worst enemy. In our forgetfulness and our pain, we disconnect from source. Remember always to ask. You're always being guided. You're always being assisted when you ask. And when you ask, you must pay attention. When you don't pay attention, you might get the result I got. Expensive lessons, but nonetheless lessons. Worthy lessons. So I would ask everyone, you know, the kind of driver of your soul, if you like, is your gut instinct. It's your solar plexus area. You'll always have a gut instinct. When you pay attention, you will become aware of this instinct. If you don't pay attention, you miss all the synchronicity and the natural flow of the divine, the flow of nature, the flow of our divine nature. So it really is all about coming back into the flow of our divine nature. And if you can't afford a therapist, here's a good one. If you can't afford a therapist, the very best therapists are actually free. Just ask the universe, ask your guides, whether they be family, whether they be friends, whether they be your guards and guides, whether they be mighty souls that you've You've either read their works when they were in this life, or whomever. It does not matter, because when they return to the universe, they become nameless, timeless, and ageless. So it doesn't matter if you call anyone by name. I usually call the souls now the soul formerly known as, if it's someone I knew here. It might have been somebody who influenced you through their music. It might be someone who influenced you through their words of wisdom. It might have been a wise person you met in this life within your own family or around. It doesn't really matter. If you have someone personal to you, that is great. If you don't, just ask. Simply ask, because the universe is pouring love on us at all times. We simply have to be receptive to it. Open our hearts. Learn to trust. Instinct is your trust. If you trust your instinct, you will never go far wrong. You will keep in the balance between any extremes. Trust your instinct. Now that is it for now. I can see by my screen there that the screen again is running at a different time to my words. I've got my glasses on now and I still can't find the little cursor button. The reason I lose it is quite simply that the screen goes blank in between. Bear with me, please. Meditate if you like. I do. I really cannot see the cursor anywhere. This is ridiculous. There we have. It really is a naughty little thing. It just disappears. And it's back now. So, like I said before, just learn to trust your instinct, for your instinct will always be your guide. Thank you. Namaste.